Please go to elithecomputerguy.com in order to view schematics, code, and more for the projects that you are learning about. Welcome back. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how to use the whereis command and the find command in order to try to do things like find the configuration files for the applications that you install on your server. So you now know how to use apt-get install to be able to install Apache, to install php.ini file, and so you're all excited, right? You can install the operating system, you can install software, great! Now you have a server. But why doesn't the server do anything? It doesn't do anything because you haven't gone in and modified the configuration files. But here's the problem. It's a Linux world. Right? You already know how to use Vim, right? So you're like, well, I know how to use Vim, and so all I have to do is get to the files and I'll use Vim to modify the configuration files. But the problem is in the Linux world is you have no idea where the hell the configuration files are. And again, that is one of those big issues you run into with Linux, where literally everything that you do with Linux, you either know how to do it or where things are, or you don't, and you're kind of screwed. So the whereis and the find commands can be very useful because these can try to show you where the files you're looking for are, so that then you can use Vim to go in there and configure them. Again, this is the important thing to understand with Linux, right? Each individual component of Linux is idiotically simple, right? Installing Linux is simple, Vim is simple, navigation is simple, all of this stuff. Installing applications is ridiculously simple. The problem that you get into, it's putting all the things together into a server that actually does something that you need. That's where it all generally just falls off the cliff. So again, using the whereis command and the find command can make your life easier for trying to do things like find the php.ini file. So the first command I'll show you today is something called the whereis command. So for this command, all you do is you simply say whereis, all one word, no spaces, whereis, and then a space, and then whatever application you're looking for. So whereis Apache 2, whereis PHP, whereis find, if you want to do it. And what this does is it shows you the folders where the configuration files and other files are stored for that particular application. So this can be very useful, again, when you're getting used to Apache or PHP, or let's say just some other random ass application that you install on onto your Linux server, and you're sitting there and you literally just simply don't know where the folders are that contain the information for this particular program. You do whereis space, whatever the name of that particular application is. You use the exact same name that you use in order to install the app or to uninstall the app or to restart the services. That's the name that you use, and basically it will show you the folders. And so that's one of the ways that you can try to figure out things like what the configuration files are. So hopefully you can simply use Google. Again, in the Linux world, screw the man pages. Man pages, it's also 2001. In the real world, you use Google. But normally you go to Google and you try to and you can go to Google and you can figure out what the configuration files and that type of thing are. But sometimes, again, maybe it's a custom piece of software, maybe it's something weird. Maybe you don't have the ability to get to Google for whatever reason. By being able to do whereis and pull up all the folders where the configuration files and everything for the application are stored, you can then navigate to those folders, do a list command, see what shows up, and go, oh, okay, that's probably what the configuration file is, and then you can try to go edit it that way. So that's what the whereis command is. Relatively simple. You're not going to use it every day. Probably not even going to use it every month. But simply knowing that the whereis command is there will probably save your butt at least once a year. The important command that we're going to be using today is find. It's just a very simple find command, and so find is a basic search command in Linux. But of course, being Linux, you get a lot of options and you get a lot of functionality, which is good, but if you don't know how to use them, they can be a pain in the butt. So one of the first things that I'll say with the find command is if you're going to be searching from the root, so from system root, one of the things that you want to do with find is you want to use sudo, super user do. The reason being, again, one of the interesting things with find is you can navigate to root, you can plug in the find command, but curiously enough, when the find is going through, the find command is going through to actually look for whatever it is you're looking for, you as a normal user, even as the person who installed the operating system, the root account or whatever, don't actually have permission to get into a lot of the folders. So if you simply do find, hyphen name, and then whatever name you're looking for, and you do that from root, and you do not use sudo, you will get lots and lots and lots of failures. That'll get very confusing. It'll get very confusing and very frustrating, and then you want to go off and be a florist. Curiously enough, all you have to do is you just plug in sudo find space hyphen name, iname, whatever else, and then whatever the name is you're looking for, that will actually be able to go into all of the directories, find whatever it is you're looking for, and spit it out for you. So the first thing to think about is if you put find and whatever it is, because we're going to show you name and iname and user and the cmin today. We're going to show you a couple of arguments you can put in there. But basically, if you plug that in and you get out a whole bunch of garbage, just realize you might want to try sudo. Try sudo before you give up. So that's one of the important weird quirks when it comes to the find in the Linux world. The next thing to be thinking about is, again, remember, in the Linux world, capitalization matters. Capitalization matters. So you're going to put in find, and then you're going to put in hyphen, and you're going to either use name or iname to find the name of a file. Here's the important difference between the arguments name and iname. If you put in name, then that means it's capital sensitive. It's case sensitive, right? So lowercase test.txt is different than uppercase test.txt, right? So if you put find hyphen name and then single quotation mark and then lowercase tes.txt, close quotation mark, and then you hit enter, then it will only look for lowercase test.txt. If you have uppercase test.txt, it will not find it, because remember, that is different. Case matters in the Linux world. So if you care about case, you use the iname argument. So find hyphen iname, and then single quotation mark, lowercase test.txt, close lower quotation mark. And if you do that, it will give you lowercase test.txt, it will give you uppercase test.txt, it'll give you everything that is spelled test.txt. Capitalization will not matter. So that is one thing to be thinking about in the Linux world. Name is case sensitive. Iname is not case sensitive. So generally, I would just use iname unless you really know what you're looking for. Just put that extra I on there. It will make your life a lot easier. One of the other things to remember is when you're doing things like find in the Linux world, the asterisk, the star, is a wild card. So let's say I'm looking for, let's say I'm not sure what the PHP configuration file is. It's php.ini. Let's say for some reason I don't know that. So I could literally put in find hyphen iname, single quotation mark, PHP star, close single quotation mark. And then what that'll do is it'll go through and it will look for everything that starts with PHP and then ends with literally anything else. And so all of that will pop up. So that's one of the things to think about. Remember, the star, the asterisk, is a wildcard, so you could put that in front. So you could put single quotation mark star PHP, close single quotation mark, and then that would be anything that ends with PHP. So you might look for ini files, right? You might say, I want to know all the ini files on a Linux machine. So I could do find hyphen iname single quotation mark star .ini, and then what that would do is I would find anything that ends in .ini. So that's one of those things that you can be thinking about, is to use the wildcard. One of the other things you can use, the arguments, if you're looking for files that are owned by a particular user, this might be valuable for you, is you can actually use the hyphen user argument. So if you do hyphen user, single quotation mark, and whatever the username is, close single quotation mark, that will show you the files that are owned by that user. So that might be valuable to you if you have multiple users, and really not even just multiple users, but like if you have different services and you've created users for those services and you're trying to figure out what files those services are using. That's something you can do, a user. And then another one of the interesting things that you can do is you can actually search by what files have been modified in the last X number of minutes. So you can do hyphen cmin, cmin, space, hyphen, and then however many minutes. And then that will show you the files and folders, or the files that have been modified in that number of minutes. So if you're going through and you're trying to see, oh, you know, like let's say you're editing, right? You're sitting there, you're editing all these files, and then you go, crap, I screwed up one of those files. But you forget which file it is. You're like, this is one of those INI files. I screwed up an INI file. I'm not sure which one it was. What you could do is, if you know you've been working on your computer for the past 20 minutes, you could do -cmin -20, and then it will show you the files that have been modified in the past 20 minutes, and then you go, oh, yeah, it's that one. So those are some of the functionality that's very useful using find. Again, with Linux, there's a whole bunch of other options. There's 1,000 other things that you can use find. You can do a lot of amazing stuff. I'm going to show you these couple of things just because I think they are the most relevant for you. They're the easiest to understand. And once you understand them, then by all means, go to the man page and see all of the stuff that you can do. One of the things I try to do with all these classes is basically just show you the smallest subset possible to make you feel comfortable with what you're doing. And then you can go and again, go to the man pages and figure out everything else. So with that, let's go over to the computer and I can show you how this works. So here we are at my Ubuntu server. Again, this is simply a virtual machine within VirtualBox. So whatever your host operating system is, whether it is Windows, Linux, or Mac, if you're using VirtualBox and you install Ubuntu server, you should be in the exact same environment. So with this, let's just for a second go in, make sure we know where we are in the operating system in the folder structure. So we'll do the pwd command, hit enter. So we know we are in the Bob folder, in the home folder in system root. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how to use the Whereis command. And again, all the Whereis command does is show you the folders that contain the files for whatever piece of software that you're interested in. So I simply can do Whereis space and then whatever I'm looking for. So I installed PHP onto the server, so I can say where is PHP, I hit enter, and now that I did, we can see these are the folders that contain files for PHP, bin PHP 7.2, lib, ... So this gives us the locations where we may want to go. Now the important thing, again, with this bin PHP and bin PHP 7.2, this is the type of thing that might cause you a problem in the real world. So you may be looking for some kind of PHP folder. So you're not doing a find, you don't do a list command, you just simply navigate to a PHP folder or Apache folder or something else. And what you might not realize is possibly in the new version of whatever you're using, that it's created a different folder. So possibly instead of needing to go to bin PHP, you need to be in bin PHP 7.2. So simply by doing the whereis command, if you're having problems, you can go, oh, crap, I didn't know that folder existed. Maybe that folder is where I need to go. Again, this works with almost anything. So Apache 2 is also installed on this Ubuntu server. Oops, where is Apache 2? I hit enter, and again, for Apache 2, we can see there are fewer folders for Apache 2, and we got the sbin, we got the lib, we got the etc, share, so on and so forth. With whereis, you can even do something as simple as find. So whereis find, again, so user bin has find, and this is where the man pages are, and this is where the info pages are. So, like, whereis isn't the greatest thing since sliced bread. This probably, again, you're not going to be using this every month even, but one of those times you're installing a new piece of software that you've never installed before, trying to find that configuration file. This is a type there. Hey, whereis? Yeah, let's see all the folders that store information for this application. So that can be useful. So with that, let's go and start looking at the find command. So clear the screen. And so now we're going to be looking at find. So again, pwd, this shows us the folder we're in, so we're in the Bob folder, in the home folder. And then let's take a look at what's actually in the Bob folder. So we do lsl, just to give you an idea. So we have a folder. So I simply created a folder called folder. And in that folder is a test.txt file. Then we have testfile.txt, lowercase test.txt, uppercase t, the rest lowercase est.txt, all uppercase test.txt. And so it is important to understand these are three entirely different files. Depending on what you're looking for, you may run into issues, again, due to that whole capitalization issue. So the first thing is, let's take a look at using name, right? So if I simply do find, space, then I'm going to do name. So when I use name, case matters, right? So it is case sensitive. And then I do single quotation mark, and then I do test.txt, close, double quotation, or a single quotation mark. So what this is going to do is find, I did not give a location. I did not give a location here. So find from starting in this folder, going down, so anything lower, find name, case sensitive, test.txt. So find me any file called test.txt from this folder down. I hit enter, and so as we can see here, I have test.txt, and so this is this one here. So this is in the folder, so this is in the Bob folder, but then we can also see in folder, then there's also a test.txt. So again, this can be one of those things you run into an issue if you're looking for a particular ini file, and you literally might be modifying the wrong one for some reason, right? The ini file, the PHP ini file you're supposed to be modifying is one, and you happen to be modifying the other. So that's something to think about. Again, one of the things to be thinking about is that with that whole wildcard, again, we can do wildcards with find. So we're going to use find. So find, and then we're still going to do name, and then I'm going to do single quotation mark, and then one of the things I can do is test, and then simply do that star, that asterisk, close, single quotation mark. So what this is going to do is from where we're at, so we're still where we're at, name, so case sensitive. I want to find test, and basically anything that starts with test. And so I hit enter here now, hit enter here. And so the interesting thing here is, so we see the test.txt, as we saw before, the test.txt in the folder that we saw before, and then we also see test file.txt. So again, that kind of shows you like, oh, yeah, again, maybe if you kind of, you're misspelling it a little bit, you're like, oh, I kind of sort of know how to spell it, by plugging in the first couple of letters, then you throw in a wildcard, that asterisk wildcard, that might make your life a lot easier. The final thing that I want to show you here is using iname. So with this, right, we keep getting test, we keep getting lowercase test. So I'm going to clear just to make this easier to see. So clear. So now what I'm going to do is find. And instead of name, I'm going to do iname, and then single quotation mark, test.txt. And so when I do this time, now when I hit enter, right, I get all the test.txt. So the uppercase test.txt, the lowercase test.txt, the lowercase test.txt, that's in the folder, and then the uppercase t, the rest lowercase est.txt, right? So by using iname, that allows me to find that. So those are some of the things to be thinking about when you're searching for files. Now, one of the things I'm going to show you is that you can also say where to look for files and why you need to use sudo. So basically right now, again, if we're looking where we are in the folder structure, we are in the Bob folder, in the home folder. So let's say I want to do find, but I'm going to do find, and I'm going to say where do I want to start looking? Where do I want to start looking? From this folder down. So I want to start looking in root. So I'm going to say find in root, then I'm going to do name, and then I'm going to single quotation test.txt, as we did before. Can anybody guess? Can anybody guess what the error for this is going to look like? It's going to be ugly, but I just want to show you, right? Because the important thing to understand here is that since we're going to be searching from root, when we do not use sudo, so what we need to do is do sudo find root -name test.txt. But since we're not doing sudo, when we enter, what we're going to get is we're going to get this mess. So basically, if you get a mess that looks like this means that you do not have permissions to be doing the searches that you're looking for. So what we're going to do is we're going to do clear. And so what I'm going to do is sudo find, then where do I want to start looking? At root. Then I want to do name. Then I want to do single test.txt, close single quotation mark. And now by using the sudo, Plug in the password. There we go. I get something much prettier. Much prettier. So if you get the ugly mess that I showed you before, the problem is that you're not using sudo. So that is one thing to be thinking about. And again, just to show you how this can be useful in the real world, sudo find, and then let's say I'm going to do name, and then let's say I'm looking for the php.ini file, and then I hit enter, and this will show me, okay, so I've got etc, php 7.2, cli, php.ini, etc, php 7.2, apache 2, php.ini. And so, again, this is one of those important things. This is a real-world thing with something like the php.ini file. So the php.ini file that we need to modify when we're dealing with websites is what's in the Apache 2. So the Apache 2 php.ini file is the ini file that we want to modify. The cli is for using PHP at the cli. And so again, this is one of those issues you can run into. If you're simply going to the cli php.ini file and doing all kinds of modifications and then things aren't working out properly, again, the reason is because you're simply not going to the right php.ini file. And so those are some things to think about. So with that, we've got those. So let me show you some other, just random ones. So things that you can look at is, again, like user, right? So I showed you name and iname. So let's say find. So again, just to show you where we're at PWD, we're in the Bob folder, and just to show you what's in the folder, that's what's in the folder. So one of the things that we can do, let's say there's a lot of different files in a folder, they all owned by different users. So one of the things that we can do is find. We're looking in this folder, so I don't have to give a location to start looking from. Find, and I can do user, and then I can do single quotation mark, then Bob, close single quotation mark. So I can find basically files owned by a user. In this particular instance, Bob. And I can hit that. And then this gives me all of the files in this folder that are owned by Bob. Now you'll see some of these files here. These are files that you did not see before when I did the ls.l command. Anything with a period in front is considered a hidden file, so it won't just show up normally when you do list commands. But we can see test, and we can see test.txt, and we can see folder, and we can see folder test.txt, blah, 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 blah. So basically this is a way to look and see, what files are owned by particular users. So that can be a useful thing. Then the next one that I think is pretty cool is, again, we have the cmin argument. So we can do find, then I can do space, and then I can do cmin. And so at cmin, C-M-I-N, don't be naughty, hyphen C.min. And so what this is basically any files that have been modified in the last however minutes. So I was creating some files. So let's say I want to see find files that have been modified in the last 20 minutes from this folder where we're at. I hit enter, and so I can see that folder. So folder in the last 20 minutes was modified, and then folder test.txt was modified in the last 20 minutes. So that gives me an idea of the different files or folders that have been modified in that amount of time. So so let me just do something here. So let me just do, let me do vim, and then I'll do test file for class.txt. Right, so I'm just going to create this. This opens up. So this is using vim, as I showed you before. I'm not going to put anything in here. I'm going to write quit. So that's created the file, right? So we're going to clear the screen. If I do ls.l, just to show you. So this is the file that I just created, test file for class.txt. We're going to go back and press clear. And what I will do is I'll do find, then I'll do hyphen cmin, then I'll do 1 minute. So find me something that's been modified in the last minute. I hit enter, test file for class.txt. And this can be great, again, for things like log files. If you're going through and doing a lot of modifications, a lot of edits, you forget what the hell you were just working on. Or again, like one of the big problems, what if you're working on the wrong php.ini file? Or you're working on and you sit there and you're trying to figure out why something's not working, and you're like, oh, I wonder if I was working on the right php.ini file. And so you can go and you can do the cmin, whenever it was you modified that ini file, and you go, oh, and then this pulls it up, and you're like, yeah, I did the wrong file. So that's one of the things that can be used there with that whole time setting. And so those are some options for you. The big thing to remember is if you get a whole bunch of garbage out, with permission issues or anything else, make sure to use sudo. So there you go. That's a basic overview of how to use whereis and the find commands. Again, whereis, you're probably not going to use it very often, but when you do need to use it, it can be a great tool. It can be a great tool. The big thing with the find command is just to realize these different arguments and that the different arguments matter. When you do the find command, so you do find space, then the location you want to start from. So if you want to start from where you're at, from the folder you're in down, then you don't put anything there. If you want to start from system root, then you do // If you want to start from a different folder, you do /etc or /home, whatever else. So basically the location is the second thing that you put in, then you put in the argument. -name is case sensitive. So lowercase test.txt is different than uppercase test.txt. So if you know exactly what you're looking for, maybe -name will be the way to go. I would argue you do -iname. Iname is case insensitive, so it will just pull back anything that is spelled the way that you give it. So that's what I would argue for. Then you do space, and then you do single quotation mark, and then whatever it is you're looking for. Test.txt, whatever else. Do you remember you can use the wildcat card, the star, the asterisks? So again, if you're looking for PHP files and you're not sure what PHP file you're looking for, you do PHP star. And then you get a whole list of all the PHP files out there. Probably not the best way to do it. Again, like if you're looking for INI files, you could do star, single quotation mark, star dot INI, and then that would pull up all the INI files. Again, that's probably, you want to narrow it down a little bit, but those are some things to think about. Beyond the name and the iname, you also have users. So if you have multiple users on your system, or possibly like log files or like applications or things, or logging things under a user account, you might use that in order to try to search for files that might be valuable to you. Or also is, again, the cmin. So the -cmin space hyphen however many minutes, that will show you the files that have been modified in however many minutes, 1 minute, 10 minutes, 30 minutes. Again, that can be a big thing, especially when you're doing maintenance tasks. You're sitting there, you're like, what file did I edit? You know what I'm saying? Like, because that's what happens, right? You're sitting there, you do all the editing, you feel really good, you pat yourself on the back, then you go to test what you did and it doesn't work. And you're like, why doesn't it work? Wait a minute. I edited the file, I did everything I was told to do, but for some reason it's not working. You do the -cmin, it pulls up, and again, you might find out that you were modifying the php.ini file in the CLI folder versus the php.ini file in the Apache 2 folder. So yes, you did everything right on the wrong file. That kind of thing really, really does happen. So anyways, those are some things to understand with find. As with all this stuff in Linux, there are 1,000 more things you can do with find. There's a lot of interesting, complicated things that you can do. But realistically, what I showed you today, this is probably what you'll be doing at least 95% of the time. So, as always, I enjoyed doing this video and look forward to seeing you on the next one.